In the land of the Pharaohs, where pyramids touch the sky and the Nile whispers its secrets, the ancients wove an intricate tapestry of practices and beliefs that still send shivers down our spines today. Enter the eerie allure of ancient Egypt, where life and death weren't separate realms, but interconnected facets of existence. In this video, we will be exploring 15 strange ancient Egyptian practices and beliefs. Number 1. The Allure of Death. In the realm of ancient Egypt, death was not merely a journey into the unknown, but rather a transformation, a continuation of existence into another stage of being. The concept of life and death being intricately interwoven facets was deeply ingrained in the Egyptian psyche. Necromancy, the art of communicating with the dead, played a pivotal role in their belief system. Necromancy was more than a mere curiosity. It was an essential part of Egyptian spirituality. The ancient Egyptians believed that the souls of the deceased could provide them with wisdom, foretell the future, and grant special favors or assistance. This intricate relationship between the living and the deceased was seen as a natural extension of their spiritual culture. One significant aspect of this practice was the usage of a shaptis, small figurines often buried alongside the deceased. These figures served as substitutes for the deceased in the afterlife, carrying out menial tasks on their behalf. This not only emphasized the profound bond between the living and the dead, but also showcased their belief in the afterlife's practicalities. The role of necromancers extended beyond just maintaining communication with the deceased. They often delved into this mystic art for pragmatic reasons. During times of crisis, the Egyptians sought to invoke the spirits of their ancestors, seeking their guidance and support. For instance, the voice of a deceased pharaoh held immense sway in political matters, and the predictions or advice of the dead were taken seriously. In other instances, necromancy was a crucial part of state ritual. The opening of the mouth ceremony was a critical funerary practice. This ceremony was a form of necromancy designed to give life to the deceased spirit, ensuring their sustenance in the afterlife. It allowed them to breathe, eat, speak, and see in their eternal journey. While necromancy might send shivers down the spine of the modern mind, it was a regular, accepted part of Egyptian spirituality. Their respect and reverence for the deceased extended beyond mortality, creating a continuous dialogue with their past. The allure of death, therefore, was, in essence, the allure of immortality and eternal wisdom, a tantalizing dance with life's transience. In exploring these aspects, we gain a unique and eerie insight into a civilization whose fascination with life and death continues to captivate our imaginations. Number 2. Curse of the Pharaohs. The concept of the Curse of the Pharaohs is deeply entrenched in pop culture, often portrayed as vengeful spirits punishing those who dared to disturb their eternal slumber. This term finds its roots in ancient Egypt's rich tapestry of mythology and religious beliefs. The ancient Egyptians viewed pharaohs as divine intermediaries, and their burials were not just final resting places, but elaborate sanctuaries, filled with treasures meant to accompany them into the afterlife. These treasures held both material and spiritual significance. They weren't merely possessions, but integral components of the pharaoh's journey to immortality. These beliefs prompted the construction of tombs, particularly in the Valley of the Kings, with intricate security measures. The entrances of tombs were inscribed with hieroglyphic curses or amulets designed to deter tomb robbers. These curses promised dire consequences, including illness and death, for those who dared to breach the sanctity of the tomb. One such curse inscription reads, "Cursed be those who disturb the rest of a pharaoh. They that shall break the seal of this tomb shall meet death by a disease that no doctor can diagnose." These curses weren't mere empty threats. They held religious and spiritual weight in the eyes of the ancient Egyptians. The ancient Egyptians believed in the power of words and the potency of magical spells. Words, whether spoken or written, weren't empty utterances, but invocations of magical energy. These words were believed to have the power to bring curses to life. Even today, we find many accounts of mysterious illnesses, sudden deaths, and unusual accidents befalling those associated with disturbing pharaohs' resting places. While modern science often debunks these associations between curses and misfortunes, the narrative of the curse of the pharaohs endures. It demonstrates the enduring power of belief and the fascination with the enigmatic and ominous. In ancient times, the curse of the pharaohs served as a formidable guardian of the pharaoh's journey to immortality. Today, it continues to evoke a sense of the uncanny, the supernatural, and the consequences of transgressing boundaries between life and death, past and present. It serves as a chilling reminder of the reverence that the ancient Egyptians held for the sanctity of the dead, and the lengths they were willing to go to ensure the eternal rest of their divine kings. These enduring myths and legends surrounding the curse of the pharaohs transport us back to the ancient Egyptian world, where powerful beliefs, intricate rituals, and a profound connection between life, death, and the afterlife created a landscape of both beauty and eerie mystique. Number 3. Servant sacrifice. One of the more sinister and chilling aspects of ancient Egyptian society was the practice of servant sacrifice, historically known as retainer sacrifice. This custom has its roots in the earliest periods of Egyptian civilization, particularly during the First Dynasty. It was a solemn and somber practice in which individuals were sacrificed and buried alongside the pharaohs they served, with the belief that they would continue to serve their master in the afterlife. Retainer sacrifice was steeped in the deeply entrenched Egyptian belief that death was not the end, but rather a transformation into another realm, where life and its demands persisted. These beliefs underscored the importance of ensuring the pharaoh's comfort and status in the afterlife. The significance of this practice lay in the concept of maintaining a smooth transition between this world and the next. Servants were seen as indispensable companions for the pharaoh on his eternal journey. Their presence in the afterlife meant that they would continue to perform essential tasks and duties for the pharaoh, ensuring his comfort and well-being. Servants chosen for this duty were often treated with a mixture of reverence and dread. They were prepared to accompany the pharaoh on his journey, with their graves filled with items they might need in the afterlife, such as household items, tools, and even food. In this way, their service in the afterlife mirrored their roles in the world of the living. However, the fate of these servants was far from enviable. The method of their death varied, with historical accounts suggesting that some may have been poisoned, while others met more brutal ends, such as strangulation or beheading. The chosen method likely depended on the desire to preserve the servant's physical form, as disfigurement would have been detrimental to their purpose in the afterlife. The practice of retainer sacrifice serves as a chilling reminder of the immense power that the pharaohs held over life and death. It underscores the deeply ingrained belief system that dominated every facet of ancient Egyptian society, from the most mundane to the most macabre. Over time, retainer sacrifice waned and disappeared, replaced by a more symbolic representation of the servants, shabti or ashobti. Clay figurines inscribed with magical spells took up the role of the deceased servants in the afterlife. These figurines were believed to come to life when invoked, performing the tasks assigned to them on behalf of the deceased. This shift from human sacrifice to symbolic representation marked a cultural and ethical progression in ancient Egyptian society. It reflected a transition from overtly gruesome practices to more symbolic and abstract rituals, all of which continued to emphasize the importance of maintaining a connection between life and the afterlife. In examining this practice, we gain valuable insights into the complex belief system of the ancient Egyptians. The idea that life extended beyond death, with a seamless transition to the afterlife, reveals the profound role that death played in their culture. The evolution from human sacrifice to symbolic representation underscores the adaptability and evolution of their beliefs, even in the face of chilling practices. Number 4. Ingesting gold for immortality. The pursuit of immortality is a timeless fascination that transcends cultures and epochs. In the case of ancient Egypt, their quest for immortality was both intriguing and somewhat eerie. Among their many experiments to conquer mortality, the ingestion of gold was a particularly captivating practice. For the ancient Egyptians, gold was more than a precious metal. It held the promise of immortality and was deeply interwoven with their quest for eternal life. The ancient Egyptians had a comprehensive understanding of the human body and a sophisticated approach to medicine. Gold played a significant role in their medicinal practices. Potable gold, usually in a liquid form, was frequently ingested by those who aspired to prolong their lives. The Egyptians prepared gold in various ways. It could be ground into a fine powder and then mixed with water or wine. In other cases, gold was used as a crucial ingredient in elixirs and potions, which were believed to have rejuvenating properties. The Ebers Papyrus, one of the older surviving medical texts, contains numerous references to the therapeutic use of gold. Gold-containing remedies were recommended for a wide range of ailments, from physical diseases to conditions affecting the spirit and mind. It was also employed in rejuvenation treatments, with the aim of restoring youth and vitality. The ingestion of gold was not limited to commoners. Pharaohs and the Egyptian nobility, who had privileged access to these precious resources, were particularly fond of this practice. The pharaohs, considered living gods in their own right, believed that consuming gold would grant them divine attributes and bestow immortality upon them. This belief stemmed from the notion that by ingesting gold, often referred to as the flesh of the gods, they would be endowed with the attributes of the divine beings, thus ensuring their eternal existence. Interestingly, from a modern scientific perspective, the practice of ingesting gold was mostly harmless. Gold is chemically unreactive and does not have any toxic effects on the human body. In some ways, the ancient Egyptians were unknowingly close to a scientific truth. Today, science recognizes various applications of gold in medicine, including its use in specific cancer treatments, reinforcing the idea that their seemingly bizarre practices might have contained elements of sound reasoning. From our contemporary standpoint, the notion of consuming gold to achieve immortality seems outlandish or eerie. However, it offers a profound glimpse into the depths of the ancient Egyptians' yearning for eternal life. Gold, with its gleaming allure, represented a tangible method of grappling with the intangible mysteries of life and death. For the ancient Egyptians, the pursuit of immortality was not a mere dream, but a tangible goal. The incorporation of gold into their medicinal practices and rituals allowed them to feel that they were actively seizing control over their fate. This practice reminds us of the extraordinary lengths to which they were willing to go to secure their place in the annals of history and unlock the tantalizing promise of unending existence. It's a striking example of how ancient cultures grappled with mortality in ways that might both captivate and chill the modern mind. Number 5. The concept of Mat, balancing truth and judgment. While not overtly creepy by conventional standards, the ancient Egyptian concept of Mat carries a certain uncanny allure due to its central role in their worldview and the eerie implications it held. Mat was more than just an abstract concept in ancient Egypt. It was a central tenet of their belief system. Mat embodied truth, balance, order, harmony, law, morality, and justice. She was often personified as a goddess, depicted with an ostrich feather on her head. This feather became a powerful symbol of Mat, representing the idea of truth and order against the chaos and falsehood that threatened the cosmic balance. One of the most chilling aspects of Mat's influence was the weighing of the heart ceremony, a pivotal event that determined the fate of the deceased in the afterlife. According to Egyptian belief, upon death, the deceased's heart was placed on one side of a scale and the feather of mat on the other. The scales were held by the god Anubis, who was responsible for ensuring a fair and just judgment. The ceremony aimed to assess the morality of the individual during their lifetime. If the heart was lighter than the feather, symbolizing a life lived in accordance with truth and righteousness, the deceased was deemed worthy of entering the field of reeds of paradise that mirrored their earthly existence. This promised an eternity of happiness, free from the struggles of mortal life. However, if the heart was heavier than the feather, laden with sins and misdeeds, it would tip the balance. This indicated a life marked by moral transgressions. In such cases, the heart was considered impure, and the consequence was chilling. It would be devoured by Ammit, the devourer of the dead. Ammit was a monstrous creature with the head of a crocodile, the torso of a lion, and the hindquarters of a hippopotamus. The individual who felt this judgment faced a second death, from which there was no return of fate akin to obliteration. To the ancient Egyptians, living under the ever-watchful eye of Mat was a constant reminder of the transient nature of life and the eternal implications of their actions. Every deed, every choice, and every word spoken bore weight not only in their mortal life, but also in the cosmic scales of justice that would ultimately decide their eternal fate. It was a profound belief that influenced their moral conduct and ethical choices throughout their lives. The concept of Mat might not immediately strike us as eerie, but it carried profound implications for the ancient Egyptians. It added a sense of gravity to their existence, as they believed their deeds in life would determine their destiny in the afterlife. The judgment, held in the shadow of the looming devourer of the dead, represents a unique and somewhat uncanny element of their culture that fascinates modern minds, and reminds us of the unending quest for balance and justice in the human experience. Number 6. Magic and spells in everyday life. Magic, known as Hekau in ancient Egypt, was not a fringe or esoteric practice. It permeated every aspect of daily life. The prevalent use of magic and spells in their culture, while not necessarily creepy, was a reflection of their worldview and deeply rooted beliefs in the power of the supernatural. Magic in ancient Egypt was viewed as a natural force within the universe, a concept integral to their cultural fabric. It wasn't relegated to the mystical. Instead, it was harnessed for a wide range of practical, everyday tasks. It was a part of their lives, seamlessly integrated into their routines. Households in ancient Egypt often owned books filled with various spells. These incantations were employed for an array of purposes: warding off evil, healing illnesses, ensuring success in endeavors, or influencing personal relationships. These spells, written or spoken, were considered concrete actions that could have tangible effects. They were often part of daily rituals and routines. Amulets, small charms with inscriptions of protective spells, were commonly worn by individuals seeking safeguards against evil forces, diseases, or to attract good fortune. These charms were not mere trinkets, but believed to be sources of potent, supernatural power. They served as personal shields against the unpredictable events of life. Magic extended beyond the realm of the living. It was a fundamental part of ancient Egyptian funerary practices. Spells guided the deceased through the perilous journey of the afterlife. They protected them from dangers and ensured their successful transition. These rituals served as a bridge between the living and the dead, emphasizing the enduring relationship between the two realms. The use of magic in ancient Egypt, though not necessarily eerie, offers a window into their worldview. Magic was their tool for asserting control over the unpredictable, navigating the mysteries of existence, and influencing the supernatural world. This dynamic culture of magic reflects a society where belief in the supernatural and the interconnectedness of the physical and spiritual realms was a fundamental aspect of their daily lives. While we might not find it inherently eerie, the ancient Egyptians' unwavering trust in magic adds depth to our understanding of their civilization. Number 7. dental implants of death and living beings. One of the more macabre practices in ancient Egyptian society was the utilization of dental implants, made from both the remains of the deceased and living beings. This practice, while perceived as unsettling by contemporary standards, was rooted in the ancient Egyptians' remarkable advancements in dentistry and their complex relationship with life, death, and the human body. The ancient Egyptians were pioneers in the field of dentistry, with an extensive understanding of oral health. Due to their coarse diet, dental problems such as tooth decay and loss were common. To address this, they developed innovative methods for replacing missing teeth, which were often fashioned from a variety of sources. One of the most intriguing aspects of this practice was the use of teeth extracted from the deceased. These teeth were often obtained from mummies or other remains. The process involved shaping the tooth to fit the recipient's mouth, ensuring a proper fit. This method was chosen because it was believed to be more hygienic and purer than using materials like metals. In addition to human teeth, the ancient Egyptians also used animal teeth to fashion dental implants. Animal teeth were meticulously modified and shaped to fit the human mouth. This approach may have been more practical and accessible than relying solely on human remains. These dental implants held symbolic and ritual significance. They demonstrated the ancient Egyptians' complex relationship with life, death, and the human body. The practice revealed their acceptance of mortality as an intrinsic part of life, as well as their reverence for the remains of the deceased. While the concept of using human and animal teeth as dental implants may be considered unsettling today, it showcased the ancient Egyptians' advanced understanding of oral health and their pragmatic approach to dental care. Their willingness to use teeth from both the living and the dead highlighted their unique perspective on life, death, and the interconnectedness of these aspects. It is a reminder that in ancient Egypt, practices we might find eerie were considered a means to restore and preserve the health of the living, even if the source was the remains of the deceased. Number 8. Consuming the blood of gods, a ritual of symbolism. One of the more fascinating and yet somewhat eerie aspects of ancient Egyptian rituals involved the symbolic consumption of what they referred to as the blood of the gods. While this ritual involved the ingestion of a red-colored beer, it was rooted in deep symbolism and myth, showcasing the ancient Egyptians' complex religious beliefs and practices. The most notable instance of this ritual was during the festival of Sekhmet. According to Egyptian mythology, Sekhmet was a lioness goddess associated with both destruction and healing. She was believed to have nearly annihilated humanity in her wrath. But the ancient Egyptians devised a mythological solution to her aggression. They created a red-colored beer that was presented to her, causing her to become inebriated and cease her violent rampage. The festival, then, was a reenactment of this myth. During the festival, celebrants would consume the red-colored beer to the point of intoxication. This act symbolically relived the myth of Sekhmet's drunkenness and her transformation from a destructive force to a benevolent goddess. By participating in the ritual, the ancient Egyptians believed they were partaking in divine essence, aligning themselves more closely with the gods. The practice of consuming the blood of the gods during religious festivals was not exclusive to the festival of Sekhmet. It was a part of various religious celebrations and had deep symbolic significance. It served as a means to seek divine favor, protection, and to commemorate the interactions between the gods and humanity as recounted in their myths. From a modern perspective, the idea of consuming a red-colored beer for religious symbolism may seem unusual and even eerie. However, it offers a profound insight into the belief systems and religious practices of the ancient Egyptians. It reflects their deeply rooted spirituality and the lengths to which they would go to connect with their deities. The practice of consuming the blood of the gods underscored the Egyptians' devotion to their pantheon of deities. It exemplified their belief that through these rituals, they could connect with the divine, protect themselves from misfortune, and partake in the very essence of their gods. While the symbolism may appear uncanny to us today, it was a significant part of their religious tradition, and an attempt to bridge the gap between the mortal and the divine. Number 9. Animals as sacred and cursed beings, a complex belief system. In ancient Egyptian culture, animals played a multifaceted role, simultaneously considered sacred and cursed beings. This intricate relationship with the animal kingdom was an integral part of their belief system, and had both religious and societal implications. Many animals were revered as sacred beings in ancient Egypt. These creatures were often believed to be physical manifestations of their deities on earth. Some of the most well-known examples include Bastet. Cats were associated with the goddess Bastet, who represented home, fertility, and childbirth. They were highly regarded, and killing a cat, even accidentally, was met with severe consequences. The ibis Thoth. The sacred ibis was associated with Thoth, the god of wisdom and writing. They were considered a symbol of knowledge and wisdom. The falcon Horus. Falcons were connected to Horus, the god of the sky and kingship. Horus was often depicted with the head of a falcon, and these birds were considered protectors of the pharaohs. The scarab beetle Khepri. The scarab beetle was associated with Khepri, a deity linked to the rising or morning sun. The beetle represented transformation and rebirth. While some animals were seen as divine, others had negative associations. These creatures were considered symbols of chaos and malevolence, and were used in curses or associated with evil forces. One of the most prominent examples is the serpent Apep. Apep, a giant serpent or snake, was the embodiment of chaos and disorder. It was the eternal enemy of Ra, the sun god, and was believed to threaten the sun's daily journey through the sky. Animals played a significant role in magical practices. Specific animal parts, such as feathers, bones, or organs, were often used in magical spells. These components were believed to possess unique properties and could influence the supernatural world. The ancient Egyptians thought that the power of these creatures could be harnessed for a variety of purposes, from protection to divination. Animal mummification was another intriguing facet of their beliefs. Many animals were mummified and offered as sacrifices to the gods. The process was elaborate and included rituals that mirrored those of human mummification. Animals like cats, ibises, and falcons were carefully preserved and placed in tombs as offerings. The dual treatment of animals as both sacred and cursed beings reflects the complex symbolism and religious beliefs of ancient Egyptian society. Their worldview was rich with symbolism and mystical associations, and it showcased the significance of the animal kingdom in their daily lives. The idea of cursed animals may seem eerie by modern standards, but it emphasizes the depth and complexity of their belief system and the essential role that animals played in their society. The Egyptians' relationship with animals was a paradox that highlighted their reverence for the divine and their understanding of the intricate interplay between the natural and the supernatural realms. Number 10. The use of human fat in rituals, macabre mysticism in ancient Egypt. The ancient Egyptians, known for their elaborate and intricate belief systems, were no strangers to practices that may seem eerie or macabre to modern sensibilities. One such practice was the use of human fat in various rituals and magical applications. While this practice may appear unsettling today, it held a significant place in ancient Egyptian spirituality and mysticism. In ancient Egypt, human fat was believed to possess potent magical properties. It was considered a substance of great mystical significance and was utilized in various contexts. Thebes Papyrus, one of the oldest surviving medical texts, contains references to remedies that included human fat. These remedies were often intended for external applications, such as treating wounds, skin ailments, or hair loss. In these cases, Human fat was believed to enhance the effectiveness of the treatment and promote healing. Ancient Egyptians frequently used amulets for protection, and some of these charms were infused with human fat. These amulets, often worn by individuals, were believed to have the power to guard against evil influences, illnesses, or misfortune. They were also used to attract prosperity and positive energies. The use of human fat in these amulets was seen as a means of increasing their magical potency. The application of human fat in these rituals was not limited to the common folk, but extended to various social strata. Priests, who played a central role in Egyptian society, were often responsible for conducting these rituals and invoking the magical properties of human fat. Human fat, in the context of ancient Egyptian rituals, was a tangible representation of the connection between the physical and spiritual realms. It symbolized a bridge between the living and the divine. Whether used for healing or protection, its incorporation into magical practices highlighted the Egyptians' belief in the interconnectedness of the two worlds. From a modern perspective, the use of human fat may evoke a sense of the macabre, as it involved the use of human remains. However, it's crucial to understand that the ancient Egyptians approached these practices from a spiritual and symbolic perspective. To them, these rituals and the use of human fat were deeply rooted in their religious beliefs, representing a means to influence and interact with the supernatural realm. The practice of using human fat in rituals in ancient Egypt is a captivating example of how the boundary between the mystical and the unsettling was often blurred. While it may seem eerie to us today, it provides insight into the ancient Egyptians' profound reverence for magic, their unique approach to spirituality, and their belief in the interconnectedness of the physical and spiritual worlds. Number 11. Dream interpretation as prophetic in ancient Egypt. Dreams have long held a mystical and prophetic place in human history, and in ancient Egypt, they were considered powerful messages from the gods. The ancient Egyptians had a complex system of dream interpretation that held both fascination and an eerie allure for those seeking guidance, insight into the future, or answers to life's challenges. In ancient Egyptian culture, dreams were viewed as a form of indirect communication with the divine realm. These nocturnal visions were believed to offer insights into the future, guidance during times of trouble, or divine messages regarding one's destiny. This belief in dreams as prophetic was deeply ingrained in their society and spiritual practices. Dream interpretation was highly respected and considered a divine art. Priests and seers often specialized in the intricate process of deciphering dreams. They were seen as intermediaries between the dreamer and the gods, using their expertise to unravel the symbolism hidden within these dreams. Dreams in ancient Egypt were laden with symbolism. Each element of a dream, from the characters and objects to the settings and actions, was thought to carry deep meaning. These symbols were seen as messages from the gods or insights into one's personal destiny. Dreams often included encounters with divine beings or references to important religious events and rituals. The profound significance attached to dreams in ancient Egypt meant that individuals would take their dreams seriously. The interpretation of a dream could influence crucial life decisions, such as whether to embark on a particular journey, choose a specific career path, or seek a particular spouse. Dreams even played a role in shaping the course of history. An intriguing example comes from the story of Pharaoh Thutmose IV, who dreamt of the Sphinx promising him the kingship as he cleared the sand around it. This dream, believed to be a prophetic message from the gods, was commemorated on the dream stele between the paws of the Sphinx. To modern minds, the concept of dreams guiding life-changing decisions or influencing historical events may carry an eerie allure. The ancient Egyptians' deep reliance on dreams as a source of divine guidance and their belief in their prophetic nature add a unique and somewhat eerie element to our understanding of this ancient civilization. The idea of dreams serving as a bridge between the human and divine realms underscores the complexity of the ancient Egyptians' belief system. Their faith in dream interpretation shows how they sought to interact with the supernatural world, and the prophetic nature of dreams allowed them to navigate the mysterious currents of life with a sense of divine guidance. Number 12. Bizarre pregnancy and birth customs in ancient Egypt. In ancient Egypt, as in many ancient cultures, pregnancy and childbirth were marked by a series of customs and practices that may appear bizarre and unsettling to modern observers. These rituals and beliefs were deeply rooted in the culture's spiritual and religious beliefs, reflecting their unique approach to life, death, and rebirth. Pregnancy was considered a divine state and a blessing from the gods in ancient Egypt. It was regarded as a sacred and precious time, and it was surrounded by a variety of rituals, both to protect the mother and her unborn child and to ensure a safe and healthy delivery. Pregnant women often wore amulets for protection. One such amulet was the image of Torit, the hippopotamus goddess of childbirth, who is believed to ward off evil spirits and ensure a safe pregnancy and childbirth. These amulets were seen as potent safeguards against malevolent forces. One of the most peculiar customs revolved around the use of birth bricks. These were clay blocks inscribed with magical spells and symbols. The expectant mother would squat or sit on the birth brick during labor, believing it would assist in the childbirth process. This ritual was a way of invoking magical protection and guidance during the birthing experience. In ancient Egypt, there was a unique method to determine the gender of the unborn child. The mother would urinate on two bags, one filled with wheat and the other with barley. If the wheat sprouted, it indicated the child would be female. If the barley sprouted, it indicated a male child. While this practice may seem superstitious to us, it's worth noting that it has shown surprising accuracy when tested in modern times. Childbirth itself was a sacred event, often assisted by midwives. The expectant mother would give birth in a squatting position, a practice that was believed to be healthier and more natural. Special tools, such as a flint knife considered purer than metal or a sharp object, were used to cut the umbilical cord. The placenta, believed to have protective properties, was treated with reverence. After childbirth, it was often preserved or buried in a specific location. The ancient Egyptians believed that the placenta held a spiritual connection with the unborn child, and its health and safety were essential. While these customs may appear bizarre from a modern perspective, they underscore the deep reverence that the ancient Egyptians had for the miracle of life and the transition from the spiritual realm into physical existence. These rituals provided a sense of comfort and reassurance to expectant mothers and were a way to align themselves with the divine forces that govern their world. The unusual pregnancy and childbirth customs in ancient Egypt were intricately tied to their spiritual and religious beliefs. The combination of superstitions, magical practices, and unique customs represented their attempt to navigate the spiritual and physical realms during this sacred period in a way that was both protective and meaningful. Number 13. The cult of the dead in ancient Egypt. In ancient Egypt, the belief in the afterlife was not a mere abstract concept, but a fundamental aspect of their culture. This belief gave rise to the elaborate and somewhat eerie practices associated with the cult of the dead. The cult of the dead was a comprehensive set of rituals and customs, designed to maintain a connection with the deceased and assist them in their journey to the afterlife. Central to the concept of the afterlife in ancient Egypt was the idea that death was not an end, but a transition into another realm of existence. This transition could be made smoother and more prosperous through the appropriate rituals and offerings made by the living. The most iconic element of the cult of the dead was the process of mummification. Mummification involved the careful preservation of the deceased's body through a series of complex rituals and treatments. This practice aimed to ensure that the body remained intact and that the soul could recognize and inhabit it in the afterlife. The organs were removed, the body was dried and preserved with various substances, and it was then wrapped in linen bandages. The cult of the dead did not conclude with the mummification process. Families of the deceased were expected to make regular offerings to their loved ones who had passed away. These offerings included food, drink, and other necessities that would be required by the deceased in their journey in the afterlife. These offerings often took place at the deceased's tomb or in sacred burial sites. In addition to offerings, small statuettes known as ashatis were placed in the tombs. These figurines were inscribed with magical spells and were intended to serve the deceased in the afterlife. They would perform various tasks on behalf of the deceased to ensure their comfort and well-being. In the hereafter, the cult of the dead was a living tradition. One of the most significant rituals within this cult was the Feast of the Valley. This was a time for families to visit the tombs of their ancestors, bringing food and drink with them. They would have picnics near the tombs and offer these provisions to their deceased loved ones. Communication with the deceased was another important element of the cult of the dead. Families would write letters to their ancestors, addressing them directly, and leaving these letters in the tombs or at sacred places. These letters were often appeals for guidance or help with issues they faced in the living world. The concept of the cult of the dead may appear eerie to modern sensibilities, as it involved an ongoing relationship between the living and the deceased. It demonstrated the enduring bond and connection between generations, emphasizing that death was not the end of one's existence, but rather a continuation of their journey. Living with the ever-present awareness of the deceased and maintaining a connection with those who had passed away was central to the ancient Egyptians' worldview. This continuous dialogue between the living and the dead was not seen as eerie or unsettling in their culture, but as a natural and essential part of existence. The cult of the dead was a reflection of the ancient Egyptians' profound belief in the interconnectedness of life, death, and the eternal legacy. By maintaining an active relationship with their departed loved ones, they were ensuring that their ancestors would continue to exist in the world of the living, their stories, wisdom, and guidance persisting through the generations. Number 14. Cannibalistic pharaohs in ancient Egypt. The notion of cannibalism is one of the most chilling aspects of ancient Egyptian history and is a topic that continues to generate intense debate and fascination among historians and Egyptologists. While the evidence for this practice remains contentious, particularly regarding whether it was metaphorical or literal, the existence of references in ancient texts, like the cannibal hymn from the pyramid texts, raises eerie questions about the customs of some ancient Egyptian pharaohs. The cannibal hymn is an enigmatic text found in the pyramid texts, a collection of religious and magical spells inscribed on the walls of pyramids during the Old Kingdom of Egypt. The specific reference to cannibalism occurs in the pyramid texts of Pharaoh Unas, the last king of the 5th dynasty. This hymn, however, is highly symbolic, and its meaning has been a subject of much debate. Many scholars argue that the references to cannibalism, the cannibal hymn, should be interpreted symbolically rather than literally. They suggest that the act of cannibalism described in the hymn is a metaphor for the pharaoh's power to absorb the strength, attributes, and qualities of defeated enemies. It is viewed as a ritualistic expression of dominance over adversaries rather than actual consumption of their flesh. The language used in the cannibal hymn is indeed graphic and explicit. It describes the pharaoh consuming the bodies and souls of his enemies to gain their power. This has led to the debate about whether this practice was metaphorical or whether it actually involved acts of cannibalism. The primary challenge in understanding the cannibal hymn and its relation to the pharaohs is the absence of direct archaeological evidence supporting literal cannibalism by ancient Egyptian rulers. There are no physical remains of human remains consumed by these pharaohs, nor are there any contemporary accounts that corroborate the existence of such practices. One interpretation of the hymn is that it symbolizes the Pharaohs' consumption of the spirits of his enemies to ensure his divine attributes and eternal rule. In ancient Egyptian cosmology, the pharaoh was seen as a god-king, and his strength and attributes had cosmic implications. Therefore, the defeat and consumption of his rivals were essential for maintaining the cosmic order. The idea of cannibalism among the pharaohs, whether literal or symbolic, is a haunting and eerie aspect of ancient Egypt. It reflects the complex nature of the ruler's role, their quest for power and immortality, and the ritualistic practices that were an integral part of their rule. Ultimately, the debate over cannibalism in ancient Egypt remains unsettled, but it serves as a stark reminder of the power of myth and symbolism in the culture. The cannibal hymn represents an extraordinary part of Egyptian spirituality, and the desire of the pharaohs to maintain their divine attributes and control over the cosmic order, even if it necessitated evoking eerie and unsettling imagery. Number 15. The afterlife and the weighing of the heart ceremony. In ancient Egyptian culture, the concept of the afterlife played a central and chilling role. The Egyptians believed that death was not the end but a transition to another existence, a belief that influenced many aspects of their lives, including a profound and eerie event known as the weighing of the heart ceremony. For the ancient Egyptians, death was a gateway to the afterlife, and they held strong beliefs about the soul's journey beyond the earthly realm. In their cosmology, the heart was considered the most important organ, the seat of consciousness and morality, and it held the key to one's fate in the afterlife. At the heart of this belief system was the weighing of the heart ceremony. This ritual was a fundamental aspect of the judgment process that determined the fate of the deceased in the afterlife. The ceremony took place in the Hall of Mat, the goddess of truth, balance, and order. In this symbolic trial, the deceased's heart, represented as a tangible object, was weighed against the feather of Mat, which represented truth and moral integrity. If the heart was found to be lighter or equal in weight to the feather, it indicated that the deceased had lived a righteous life, upholding the principles of Mat. This favorable outcome meant they were eligible for eternal life in the field of reeds, a paradise similar to their earthly existence. The concept of Mat held profound importance in ancient Egyptian society. It was not merely an abstract principle, but was personified as a goddess, often depicted with an ostrich feather on her head. This feather was a symbol of Mat, representing the lightness of truth and order, against the weight of chaos and falsehood. For those whose hearts were lighter than the feather of Mat, the reward was eternal life and a peaceful existence in the afterlife. However, for those whose hearts were heavier, weighed down by the burden of sins and misdeeds, they faced a chilling fate. The heart was fed to Ammit, the devourer of the dead, a monstrous creature with the head of a crocodile, the torso of a lion, and the hindquarters of a hippopotamus. Failing this judgment meant the soul ceased to exist, suffering a second death from which there was no return. The belief in the weighing of the heart ceremony held profound implications for daily life in ancient Egypt. It encouraged adherence to moral and ethical conduct as individuals recognized that their actions carried weight not just in this life, but in the cosmic scales of justice that would dictate their eternal fate. While the idea of one's heart being judged in the afterlife may seem eerie to us today, it reflects the ancient Egyptians' belief in the enduring importance of morality and truth. The concept of the weighing of the heart ceremony was a constant reminder of the transient nature of life and the eternal consequences of one's actions. The idea that every action in life bore consequences, not just in this world, but in the scale of cosmic justice, added a unique and somewhat eerie dimension to their cultural beliefs. And with that draws the end of our video. In conclusion, the mysteries and eerie allure of ancient Egypt are like a portal to a world where life and death, the mundane and the macabre, were intricately interwoven. From the captivating practice of necromancy to the enduring fascination with the curse of the Pharaohs, and from rituals involving human fat to the profound beliefs in the weighing of the heart ceremony. These aspects of ancient Egyptian culture reveal a civilization that sought to conquer the enigmatic realms of existence. While we may find their practices unsettling or even eerie from a modern perspective, they serve as a testament to the depths of their beliefs, a connection with the divine, and the thirst for immortality that continue to echo through the sands of time. The mystique of ancient Egypt is an enduring testament to humanity's unceasing fascination with the eerie and the unknown, encapsulating both the unsettling and the enigmatic aspects of this remarkable civilization. If you made it this far, thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more in-depth historical insight. Until next time, friends, stay curious.